welcome to another episode of What the Why with Barbara Ann on RVN Television. If you haven't seen us before, our show features diverse leaders from all walks of life, talking about why they do what they do and how they figured out it's what they're meant to do. Maybe at some point you felt sick and tired of being sick and tired, or you felt stuck and you wanted to get unstuck, whether that was in your career or your personal relationships. One thing that all of our guests have had in common with you is that they at some point felt similarly and decided to do something about it. And today's guest is no exception. Please join me in welcoming LaQuanda McCoullum to our show today. LaQuanda is a published author, TV show host in her own right, and founder of I Do to Me. Just wanted to give you some inside scoops about LaQuanda. She's first and foremost a worth advocate. As she explains it, she's been called by God and qualified through life experience to speak to women in a worthless space and empower them to live the life that God intended for us to live. As noted in her core messaging, choosing you means choosing the person God created and everything associated with that. It's not a selfish action at all. In fact, it's really all about getting to know you enough to know what God intended for you to do while you are here on this earth, which is everything that What the Why is about. What in the world is a worth advocate? LaQuanda defines it, a worth advocate, as someone who serves as a reminder that your worth is not hinged on the amount of money you make, the car you drive, how pretty you are, or how many degrees you have or don't have. In fact, recently in a coaching class, someone jokingly said, "You've never seen a hearse hauling a U-Haul trailer." Your worth is hinged on the very fact that you were born, uniquely created by God in His image, with talents meant to do amazing things. In addition to being a worth advocate, she's a writer, as I mentioned, TV host of her new show, Worth It, and on-camera coach. She's worked with some of the most amazing and talented artists Philadelphia has to offer, and some celebrities along the way. Additionally, a show that she produced, titled On the Spectrum, was nominated for an Emmy Award. She offers coaching workshops and is available for speaking engagements, and I'm very excited she's joining us live in studio. So without further ado, please welcome LaQuanda McCoullum, worth advocate and founder of I Do to Me, to our show. So yay! Round of applause. So thank you so much for joining me in studio.
Yes, I'm so glad that you are having me today. And in the words of Eddie Murphy from Coming to America, I am very happy to be here.
Love that movie. I know some people have mixed feelings about it. I love that movie.
The first one better than the second.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Hands down. In fact, total aside that has nothing to do with what LaQuanda's here to talk about today. When they did the pop-up of McDowell's, our
I was there.
You went
I
to
was there. I was there.
I had to go. Yes. Had to go.
Yep.
And okay. So that aside, other than realizing our dreams of actually going to visit McDowell's,
because it was.
It was. I'm like, I gotta go. You got to go. You have to go.
And why? Because I've always wanted to do it.
Yes. Right. Yeah. And their fries were great.
Right.
Not that I'm supposed to eat them, but they were great.
Yeah.
But you know, other than wanting to go to McDowell's at some point in our lifetimes, I know what I'm doing now has some similarity to what I thought I'd always do. But it's not what I thought I would want to do, because I wanted to do so many different things. So one of the same questions that we ask everybody on the show is, what did you want to be when you were growing up?
Okay, so what I wanted to be when I was growing up was an actress.
Okay.
I always wanted to act. Well, and I will say I was good at acting. Let me say that. I didn't realize I wanted to be it because I didn't think it was a career path that I could choose. Okay. So I knew I was good at it, but I didn't understand that I could actually want to be it and potentially be it. So that's what I wanted to be, growing up.
So how did you go from young LaQuanda wanting to be an actor to a worth advocate?
Okay. So very interesting journey. So I would say right now I'm about 2 years old. Okay. Right. I know I look older. I know I look a lot older, but right now I would say I'm about 2 years old. I say that because it wasn't until 2 years ago that I fully immersed myself in the journey of self-discovery. And it was during that time that I really understood what I wanted to be and why I am here. And so that journey, my life's journey, took me through a myriad of different things, much like a lot of us, because you even said it, Barbara, and you said, well, I wanted to be a whole lot of things.
Yeah.
And it's true. Like, I was good at a whole lot of different things, but it wasn't until I was first born, when I was 42, or reborn, that I was able to really take a deep and effective and impactful journey into who I am today. And so I'll move us along. Won't take us through all those other years. But, and so it wasn't until after I lost my mom, my grandma, my dad, my marriage, really, that I, gathered and regained my worth. So I would definitely say that the largest accomplishment and the biggest realization that I have ever made was understanding my worth and value. So that's first and foremost for me. Getting a divorce, it made me look at myself, and it made me look at the person that I was born to. And I know, everybody isn't all faith-based, and I am a faith-based, so I don't want to offend like your viewing audience, but that's where I discovered and took more introspection on this woman that God created, that was born on this earth. And I started to look at the fabric of who I was. What do I like? What am I naturally good at? What am I naturally drawn to? Because all those different things, that's actually who I am. And for me, so many times, because like I said, I didn't know that I could actually aspire to be an actress. I didn't know I could aspire to be those things. And so, and so many different things came into play to count me out of those things. I didn't think I was small enough. I talk about it in my book. I grew up in the heart of North Philadelphia, and I'm short. I was heavy, and so I didn't fit into what on TV, what they were telling me on TV. I didn't fit into that because I wasn't tall, thin. And then in my neighborhood, the guys in my neighborhood had a different perspective. They wanted you to be, in the words of Sir Mix-a-Lot, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him.
Oh, I'm very familiar. One of my favorite moments was when my then 3 or 4 year old nephew started walking around saying, I like big butts and I cannot lie. Butts can't deny. And finally at one point I was like, do you know what that means?
Right.
And this little boy's like, yeah, it means she's got a big bottom. Oh my God.
Right. So I wasn't 34, 26, 30. It wasn't that. I'm like, I don't
36, 24, 36. Yes.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't fit in anywhere. There's no way I could be this. So scratch that. That's off the table. So again, after getting divorced, and then losing so many things behind that, I hit a bottom, a rock bottom in worth, value, everything. But that bottom wound up being the rebirthing or the birthing space of who I am today. I don't want to cry, but yeah. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. Terrible movie, but still one of my favorites because it stars Keanu Reeves. There's a line in it. It says, it's only at the precipice that we change.
Yes.
It's only at the brink that we find the will to change.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that's what happened to you. You had a pivotal moment.
Yeah.
In the midst of what was either going to make or break you.
Yes.
And instead you found the gifts.
Yes.
And I'm sure there's a lot of people watching us right now that would like to know, how did you figure that out?
Okay. How I figured that out was because through your life, you have these dreams or visions or imaginings, right? And I know I'm not alone, right? And there were a lot of times where I thought that those things were just dreams. I thought they were just imaginings, and they weren't. For me, I like to say they are God's way of guiding us along our true path and calling us into the person who we are to be and how we're supposed to operate in the earth. And so I would say it was at my breaking point or that pivotal moment that I started answering those calls. And it was like, well, I see all these things in my mind, but I'm not being any of them. I'm not sure of myself. I see myself in my mind as this person who is confident, who is strong, who is in pursuit, but in my actual reality is not manifested or reflective of what I'm seeing. And then, so what prompted me to get the divorce, it was because the dreams and the imaginings became so loud that I could not ignore them anymore. It was either you do and be this person or you'll live your life in misery. So it was at that point, I would say, when the dreams and imaginings got so loud that I couldn't run from them. I couldn't hide them. I couldn't hide them anymore. So I had to do something. And so I did.
Yeah, and it's interesting imagery when you say things like hide them. Yes, our audience has a wide range of beliefs, but we've had a number of people who've come on and talked about their faith. And since this is a show based in authenticity, when faith is a huge driver, that's what we're going to talk about.
Okay.
And the parable of the many talents.
Yes, I love that one.
And that one poor guy who thought he was doing the right thing, right, by burying it in the ground because he didn't think he could do a lot with it.
Yeah.
Instead of using it.
Yeah.
And how back then, while talent was a monetary unit, now it stands for something so much better.
So much more.
And so many people really don't use the talents that they have for a variety of reasons.
This is so true, and it is interesting that you said that. I did a course called From Worthless to Worth It, and one of the foundational principles that I use in the course is the parable of the talents. And I use that because just to quickly dive in, one person was given 5, 2, 1, and the person that was given only the 1 was the person that hid their talent. And much like a lot of us, which is where the birthing place of my personal quote, where your worth is not hinged on all these different things. The money you make, the car you drive, your looks, your assets is hinged on the fact that you were born, is because when we think we don't have as much as somebody else, we hide what it is that we do have and think that it's invaluable, it's worthless. And for me, a lot of my conditions would have dictated that I would not be worth a darn, okay? Because I grew up in a single parent home, because my dad was in and out of jail, because I didn't fit into the societal norms of what a look should look like, because I don't have 20 degrees hanging on my wall. So on paper or in my mind or in anybody's mind, when they don't stack up to somebody who has all these other things, we hide and say what we have isn't good enough.
And sometimes it's better.
And
a lot of times.
And it's like I may as well not even contribute into society because I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not worth it. And that couldn't be the furthest thing from the truth, because what happened was, we know in that parable, much like life, that person with the 1 buried theirs, and when the person came back, or the person that tills the soil came back, he took that 1 and gave it to the person that had the most, right? And so what that parable teaches us is that use what you have. What you have is good. What you have is yours. Occupy that space with whatever you have, and then you'll add on to it. And and you'll continue to add on to it, because the person with 5 wasn't mad at their 5. They knew they were going to come back with 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah.
So believe it or not, it's already time for a break. So we're going to take a break.
Yes.
And then we're going to come back and talk more about knowing your worth, figuring out what your worth is, and then going forth and living it with LaQuanda McCoullum.
All right.
Welcome back to What the Why with Barbara Ann, and today's very special guest, LaQuanda McCoullum, a worth advocate and founder of I Do To Me. And before the break, we were talking about talents and
Yes.
the use of talents,
Yes.
and how so many people don't use them. And interestingly, before the pandemic, at an aunt's funeral, someone had actually said to me, "You're not using your voice." I thought, oh my gosh, my whole life has been dedicated to working with small business and nonprofits and this, that, and the other thing. And then COVID hit, and long story short, I reevaluated everything for probably the 4th time in my life.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why we're sitting here today.
Yeah. Oh.
So it definitely, and even though it affected my voice, I jokingly said that, well, it took my voice in some ways, but it inadvertently actually amplified it.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you had some amplifying moments of your own as
did.
you were going through that process. And even when you're moving forward in faith, there's still a level of anxiety or fear that this is what you're meant to do, you're going to succeed, but the naysayers just love to get in your ear.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So how did you navigate that aspect of stepping out into who you really are and showing others?
Okay, so I would say my biggest naysayer that I had to overcome was honestly really me.
Okay.
Really. And then everybody else came, they were like the added fuel, like they added a little paper and they added a little coal here, but I lit the fire on my own. And so, much like you, which is so interesting, because right after I got divorced or whatever the case, a couple months after that is when, maybe a year and a half after that is when I started my show, because that was something that I always wanted to do. Okay. And I had so many obstacles that got in the way of that throughout my lifespan, so I thought I wasn't supposed to do it. Like I even submitted, I say to, when Oprah first started her network, she was doing all these castings for people to submit your original show ideas. Mm-hmm. And I did one called The Road to Success. And I was selected. We went out there to different auditions and stuff like that, to Georgia and all those kinds of things that didn't go through. I did another show when my dad was alive, before he passed away, and we talked about reintroducing yourself to your child's life after you did a long bid is what we call it on the street for time in prison. Yeah. Okay. and we didn't, and it was a great show, not a dry eye in the house, because that was a very important topic, and a lot of people don't adjust well after their parent.
Right.
So we did that. The person who did the show erased it. And so it's like, well, maybe I'm not supposed to do it.
That wasn't your topic.
Yeah, right. And then the other thing, like, all right, I'm going to give this thing a rest. I'm going to put this idea to bed. But after, I got back into the dreams and the imaginings, they happened, and they would not leave me, And then so when after spending time in self-discovery and getting the divorce and stuff like that, I said, I'm going to do it against my own negative voice that's saying it's not supposed to be. Okay, because sometimes you may have heard the saying, the biggest enemy is the inner me.
Yes.
Yes. And so, with, let me tell you, when so many negative things happen to you in life, you feel like good things are not supposed to. So
I hear that all the time.
Right.
And I know you do too.
Right. And it becomes a part of who you are. Like, negative is supposed to happen. I can deal with the negative. I know how to navigate that space. But sometimes, even for me right now, I didn't always know how to navigate the positive spaces and the successful spaces, because I'm always used to fighting for my life. Yep. I didn't know how to live and embrace the living moments. And so I said, I'm going to do it. okay? And I'm going to do it regardless of what I think about it, regardless of all the sabotaging thoughts, regardless of everything that tells me to stop, don't do it, don't move forward. And the biggest reason why is because it's not going to leave my mind. So I'm going to be in this constant state of fighting what I feel and fighting the voices that are trying to fight me from doing what I feel. I'll stay in this constant state. And I just decided to say, I'm not going to fight it anymore. I'm going to just be. And when I close my eyes and I'm just being, that person has a show when I'm just being. That person is talking to a crowd. That person is making somebody else feel good when I'm just being. And I'm just going to just be. And if it doesn't work out, it's okay as long as I'm being. And that part, that's what helps me when I know I'm just being who I am.
Yeah. And sometimes you don't even know who you've touched.
Yeah.
And you find out later, somebody comes up to you and says, you know, I was at this place at this time.
Yeah.
And then they come up to you and they tell you it's because of what you said or somewhere they heard you, and you realize that, yes, I really am living into my purpose.
Yeah.
And the energy, and you can feel the energy when you're even, like, you can feel the energy when we're talking to somebody who gets it and exudes it and shares it. So as part of this journey, we talked about the naysayers, but who would you say were some of your biggest supporters or influences?
Oh, I have so many. So my family is amazing. So my family is absolutely amazing. They're supportive of my daughter. I have a 19-year-old daughter. And honestly, my ex-husband has become a supporter. He's a supporter. And so I would say my family. And my relationship with God. I mean, that is huge. That is paramount, outside of those things. And just remembering, too, all the things from my grandmom and my mom, that I do embrace those teachings and everything that they imparted in me. My mom took me to my first acting class. I think I was like 15 or 16. And I was just naturally good at it. But I'm glad that she saw me because she got sick like when I was 18. And so it was important to me that she was there and she, saw that. So that's important too.
Yeah, she got to see the talent in action, some of the talents in action. So you described yourself as a 2-year-old, which any parent knows. They call it the terrible twos, but there's nothing terrible about what you're doing. What lies ahead for you in terms of this journey?
So what lies ahead for me is I'm going to continue to be. I'm going to continue to be despite any other voice that tries to sabotage or trump my beingness, okay? Because I've had enough. I'm about to be 45 on July 9th. So I spent a lot of my life already burying, like the parable of the talent, burying.
Yeah.
So I'm going to spend this half of my life being.
Okay.
So that's it.
That's a fantastic answer.
Thank you.
In terms of, somebody else who's interested, whether it's going into their own show or, following in the footsteps of living into whatever they keep hearing a calling for and just not doing it, what advice or suggestions do you have for them?
My advice or suggestion would be to really take a moment and spend time with yourself. Take more than a moment, okay?
Yeah.
I talk about this in my book sometimes when, as people, especially when you've had a tumultuous past or trials to overcome, self-discovery seems like it's for the wealthy. How can I move forward in this journey of self-discovery when I'm trying to survive? When survival supersedes self-discovery, it seems pointless. I need to pay my bills. I can't think about being. What are we talking about? You talking about being? I'm trying to keep my lights on.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
I'm trying to provide for my family. I can't take this inward journey. I have to survive. So what I would say is that this journey of self-discovery is paramount to your survival.
Yeah.
So when we talk about surviving, you have to be able to be in order to survive. Otherwise, you'll end up like a lot of other people who either find themselves in a variety of unfavorable places. Okay? When we take a moment to, so back to your question, I would say spend some time in self-discovery, no matter what the cost, no matter what time of night it is. If it's 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and you only have those hours to focus on self-discovery, set some time aside so you can figure out what being feels like to you.
Yeah.
What are you good at? What are you naturally drawn to? You know, because when we look at people like the Beyoncés of the world, and what they did was they tapped into being early.
Yeah.
That's all. That's all. Life didn't convolute their beingness.
Yeah.
You know, life didn't supersede that for them. They let nothing get in the way of their beingness. And what I find now is that we spend so much time on the external things that infiltrate our beingness.
Yes.
You know, and
We go looking outside ourselves for things that can only be found within.
that can only be, and we allow society to dictate, I got to make this amount of money, I have to do that. And while all that is important, be that as it may, you'll find yourself in this tug of war between being and the elements that are external. And it'll have you in a constant state of frustration. But when you take time to be in your beingness, okay, it just allows you to be more okay with who you are. And then, you know, the amount of money won't supersede you being. You'll find such a heavy weight on being who you are, and that thing becomes so important to you because it helps keep you sane.
Yeah.
Right. It helps keep you grounded. It helps you be able to show up better in life for the people that you love and for yourself and to those around you and what all those different kinds of things. So, yes, I would say spend some time with you. Spend some time being. Spend some time writing down what's important to you, what all those factors are, and then just start doing some of them.
literally words to live by.
Yeah.
So and we're at time. I know, it's like it goes quick.
Yeah.
So now I know you're on Facebook, you're on Instagram. If anybody in our audience would like to know how to reach you, they can contact me. But how can they also reach you?
Sure. You can visit my website, which is idotome.com, which is me.com, and every single last thing is there. How you can watch the show, how you can take a course or whatever. It's all on idotome.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, for coming across the bridge. And I look forward to hearing about, what is it, after the Terrible Twos, the threes and fours. So I can't wait to come back and talk more about that.
Yes, for sure. Thank you so much for having me. This was fantastic.
Awesome. Thank you. So regarding our upcoming guests, we're into that summer season, so I've got lots of people lined up that have not yet committed. But I can tell you that one of them is going to be me. I'm actually going to be on my own show almost a year ago from the first time I did it, talking about hidden disabilities, as well as some other really exciting guests that will be coming up in the coming weeks. So suffice to say, you do not want to miss what any of our guests have to say. Also, you can catch all of Season 1 as well as Season 2 on demand at rvntelevision.com as well as Roku on the What the Why page. You have so many viewing choices these days, so thank you very much for watching our show, and please tell a friend or colleague about us. As a reminder, What the Why airs on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time for my viewers who are out on the West Coast and in zones that don't celebrate daylight savings time, as well as Mondays at 3:30 p.m. on demand, and episodes tend to be posted to the on-demand page anywhere from 48 to 72 hours after their original viewing. And please remember, whether you're looking to make changes in your life, no matter how big or small. Join us again for more enlightening, illuminating, and inspiring conversations with people like LaQuanda, who figured out that their talents, their purpose in life were calling to them. And all they needed to do was grab a hold of that, live into it, be it, and fulfill their purpose and live it.